Welcome back, guys, to yet another awesome, hopefully awesome, episode of Calloused Hands. We are going to be in 1 Samuel 8, continuing our character study. We're looking at several people all at once, in a sense, because I want to really understand like how they interacted and what maybe made them the way they were. Really look at their personalities, try to identify with that. And so we've already kind of started laying the groundwork with Samuel. We see that he's finally like communing with God, and we've seen him become like that next prophet, that true prophet, where he's filling and even going to be exceeding Eli's shoes. So we're starting off with 1 Samuel chapter 8 today. I really would like for you to go ahead and have your notes pulled up that we're going to be going with for today's episode, just so you have it ready to type in and everything when we go to put stuff in, because it's gonna come fairly quickly. We're going to be introducing our next character that we're going to be looking at while looking at Samuel. And so, as you can see, if your Bible has like headlines in different sections, this section is titled Israel Demands a King. And so I'm going to start things off right now in 8 with verse 1. And it came about when Samuel was old that he appointed his sons judges over Israel. Now the name of his firstborn was Joel, and the name of his second Abijah. They were judging in Beersheba. His sons, however, did not walk in his ways, but turned aside after dishonest gain, and took bribes and perverted justice. Then all the elders of Israel gathered together and came to Samuel at Ramah. They said to him, Behold, you have grown old, and your sons do not walk in your ways. Now appoint a king for us to judge like all the nations. But the thing was displeasing in the sight of Samuel when they said, Give us a king for us to judge. And Samuel prayed to the Lord. The Lord said to Samuel, Listen to the voice of the people in regard to all that they say to you, for they have not rejected you, but they have rejected me from being king over them. Like all the deeds which they have done since the day that I brought them up from Egypt, even to this day, in that they have forsaken me and served other gods, so they are doing to you also. Now then, listen to their voice. However, you shall solemnly warn them and tell them of the procedure of the king who will reign over them. So we really get a lot of info right here really quick. Samuel's sons are not being faithful. They're bought. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, which you can write in here for notes. Samuel faithful, and in like a bracket you could put loves God, if you wish, and then sons unfaithful and corrupt. And one of the biggest things here that we see is in verse 7. They have not rejected you. They have rejected me. Think about it every time we sin, what that does to God, and that rejection. Just hits heavy, and something we need to think about, and something that we need to work on within ourselves. I know I need to work on mine. You have your own to work on. Like, it's part of being human. And I applaud you for doing this study with me, because it's showing you're wanting to work on yourself, as well as I'm wanting to work on myself. Like we're just two Christians trying to get closer to God. And what better way to find out how to be closer to God than to read about how people chose to not be? Because it's like, okay, we don't want to be like them. a lot of examples in my life, it has been, well, I don't want to be like that. And, man, that sounds awful in certain ways, but it's led to some really positive things in my life. And it's a desire for improvement. It's not, well, I'm going to be better than them. No, it's, I want a better life for me. I want a better life for, at the time, whenever I really started purposing this in my life, I want a better life for my future wife. I want a better life for my future kids, for my son. I wanted a better life for my family. And so that, having that desire has really brought me to this place now, where we are now. So things are good. So where we left off in verse 9, there's a warning concerning a king, like, let them know that this is what it's going to be like. And we pick up right there in verse 10, which is where we're getting ready to start. Back up. So Samuel spoke all the words of the Lord to all the people who had asked of him a king. He said, "This will be the procedure of the king who will reign over you. He will take your sons and place them for himself in his chariots among his horsemen, and they will run before his chariots. He will appoint for himself commanders of thousands and of fifties, and some to do his plowing, to reap his harvest, and to make his weapons of war and equipment for his chariots. He will also take your daughters for perfumers and cooks and bakers. He will take the best of your fields and your vineyards and your olive groves and give them to his servants. He will take a tenth of your seed." 1 second, we are fighting pages. One thing you don't have to do with a phone, however, we're going to be in the Word here for sure. I'm very glad we went back to paper Bibles, but continue on. "And of your vineyards, and give to his officers and to his servants. He will also take your male servants and your female servants and your best young men and your donkeys and use them for his work. He will take a tenth of your flocks, and you yourselves will become his servants. Then you will cry out in that day because of your king whom you have chosen for yourselves, but the Lord will not answer you in that day. Nevertheless, people refused to listen to the voice of Samuel, and they said, 'No, but there shall be a king over us, that we also may be like all the nations, that our king may judge us, and go out before us and fight our battles.' Now, after Samuel had heard all the words of the people, he repeated them in the Lord's hearing. The Lord said to Samuel, 'Listen to their voice and appoint them a king.' So Samuel said to the men of Israel, 'Go, every man to his city.'" Now, at the beginning of chapter 9, we're going to begin getting into who we will begin to, become king. Couldn't think of the word there. I apologize. So, we're going to start off at 1 Samuel 9, verse 2, actually. He had a son whose name was Saul, a choice and handsome man, and there was not a more handsome person than he among the sons of Israel. From his shoulders and up he was taller than any of the people. So this is a big guy. Saul's very well built. So it's not like a character thing, but it's one of the first things that we mentioned. So let's go ahead and put that in our notes, actually. So make a section for Saul since we have one for Samuel, and then let's do very tall. He passed through... Now the donkeys of Kish, Saul's father, were lost. So Kish said to his son Saul, "Take now with you one of the servants. Arise. Go search for the donkeys." He passed through the hill country of Ephraim and passed through the land of Salishah, but they did not find them. They passed through the land of Shalim, but there they were not there. Then he passed through the land of the Benjamites, but they did not find them. When they came to the land of Zuph, Saul said to his servant who was with him, "Come and let us return, or else my father will cease to be concerned about the donkeys, and will become anxious for us." He said to him, "Behold, now there is a man of God in the city, and the man is held in honor. All that he says surely comes true. Now let us go there. Perhaps he can tell us about our journey and on which we have set out." Then Saul said to his servant, "But behold, if we go, we shall. What shall we bring the man? For the bread is gone from our sack, and there is no present to bring to the man of God. What do we have?" The servant answered Saul again and said, "Behold, I have in my hand a fourth of a shekel of silver. I will give it to the man of God, and he will tell us our way." So, in like parentheses or whatever, it says, "Formerly in Israel, when a man went to inquire of God, he used to say, 'Come and let us go to the seer,' for he who is called a prophet now was formerly called a seer." So Samuel would have been called a seer at this point. He wouldn't have been called a prophet. But that is a word that we commonly know for it as. So you could add that to your notes if you like for Samuel. But we are rolling on, starting in 10. Then Saul said to his servant, "Well said, come, let us go." So they went to the city where the man of God was. As they went up the slope to the city, they found young women going out to draw water, and said to them, "Is the seer here?" They answered them and said, "He is. See, he is ahead of you. Hurry now, for he has come into the city today, for the people have a sacrifice on the high place. As soon as you enter the city, you will find him before he goes up to the high place to eat. For the people will not eat until he comes, because he must bless the sacrifice. Afterward, those who are invited will eat. Now therefore go up, for you will find him at once." So they went up to the city. As they came into the city, behold, Samuel was coming out toward them to go up to the high place. Now, a day before Saul's coming, the Lord had revealed this to Samuel. "About this time tomorrow I will send you a man from the land of Benjamin, and you shall anoint him to be prince over my people, and he will deliver my people from the hand of the Philistines, for I have regarded my people, because their cry has come to me." When Samuel saw Saul, the Lord said to him, "Behold, the man of whom I spoke to you, this one shall rule over my people." Then Saul approached Samuel in the gate and said, "Please tell me where the seer's house is." Samuel answered Saul and said, "I am the seer. Go up before me to the high place, where you shall eat with me today, and in the morning I will let you go, and will tell you all that is on your mind. As for your donkeys, which were lost 3 days ago, do not set your mind on them, for they have been found. And for whom is all that is desirable in Israel? Is it not for you and for all your father's household?" Samuel is getting some great information from God, obviously, which, when are we not getting great information from God? But it's really cool to see like what ends up happening here in this moment. But we're trying to get to a peak moment here in this story, so we're going to keep reading. I know like this whole section, like this character study is going to be a lot like an audiobook with commentary. So yeah, if that's not your thing, I apologize, and I hope you come back at some other point. But to get the full idea of the story as to what's going on, we're going to be reading a lot of the Bible instead of summarizing. And so good chunks of these episodes will be Bible. But it's much like doing a study, right? It is doing a study. That's the whole point of these podcast episodes. So that being said, we're going to start in 21. Saul replied, "Am I not a Benjamite, of the smallest of the tribes of Israel, and my family the least of all the families of the tribe of Benjamin? Why then do you speak to me in this way?" Then Samuel took Saul and his servant and brought them into the hall and gave them a place at the head of those who were invited, who were about 30 men. Samuel said to the cook, "Bring the portion that I gave you concerning which I said to you, set it aside." Then the cook took up the leg with what was on it and set it before Saul. And Samuel said, "Here is what has been reserved. Set it before you and eat, because it has been kept for you until the anointed time, since I have said I have invited the people." So Saul ate with Samuel that day. When they came down from the high place into the city, Samuel spoke with Saul on the roof. And they arose early, and at daybreak Samuel called to Saul on the roof, saying, "Get up, that I may send you away." So Saul arose, and both he and Samuel went out into the street. As they were going down to the edge of the city, Samuel said to Saul, "Say to the servant that he might go ahead of us and pass on, but you remain standing, now that I may proclaim the word of God to you." It's getting ready to get big for Saul, right? Like, this is getting to be a big deal. And I think it's awesome and, like, super interesting that God, started telling Samuel this 24 hours before, Saul showed up. So we're starting chapter 10. Then Samuel took the flask of oil, poured it on his head, kissed him, and said, "Has not the Lord anointed you a ruler over his inheritance?" We're going to stop right there for a second. I want you to pull out your notes, and I want you to put in there, under the Samuel section, anoints with oil. We're going to come back to this point in particular later on in our studies about Samuel and Saul and so on that we had, introed a couple weeks ago whenever we first started getting this study together. So you got your note in your notes, and we're going to keep going on. When you go from me today, then you will find 2 men close to Rachel's tomb in the territory of Benjamin at Zelah, and they will say to you, "The donkeys which you went to look for have been found. Now behold, your father has ceased to be concerned about the donkeys and is anxious for you, saying, 'What shall I do about my son?' Then you will go on further from there, and you will come as far as the oak of Tabor. And there 3 men going up to God at Bethel will meet you, one carrying 3 young goats, another carrying 3 loaves of bread, and another carrying a jug of wine. And they will greet you and give you 2 loaves of bread, which you will accept from their hand. Afterward you will come to the hill of God, where the Philistines' garrison is. And it shall be, as soon as you have come there to the city, that you will meet a group of prophets coming down from the high place with harp, tambourine, flute, and lyre before them, and they will be prophesying. Then the Spirit of the Lord will come upon you mightily, and you shall prophesy with them and be changed into another man." So Saul's getting ready to take on transformation. So let's go ahead and add that to our Saul stuff. So transformation prophesied in 1 Samuel 10:6. It shall be, when these signs come to you, do for yourself what the occasion requires, for God is with you. And you shall go down before me to Gilgal, and behold, I will come to you to offer burnt offerings and sacrifice peace offerings. You shall wait 7 days until I come to you and show you what you should do. Then it happened, when he turned his back to leave Samuel, God changed his heart, and all those signs came about on that day. When they came to the hill there, behold, a group of prophets met him, and the Spirit of God came upon him mightily, so that he prophesied among them. So let's go ahead and also put like a comma and then 10 next to that 6. So, comma, 10. Okay. It came about, when all who knew him previously saw that he prophesied now with the prophets, that the people said to one another, "What has happened to the son of Kish? Is Saul among the prophets?" A man there said, "Now who is their father?" Therefore it became a proverb, as Saul among the prophets. When he had finished prophesying, he came to the high place. Now Saul's uncle said to him and his servant, "Where did you go?" And he said, "To look for the donkeys. When we saw that they could not be found, we went to Samuel." Saul's uncle said, "Please tell me what Samuel said to you." So Saul said to his uncle, "He told us plainly that the donkeys had been found, but he did not tell him about the matter of the kingdom which Samuel had mentioned." Thereafter Samuel called the people together to the Lord at Mizpah, and he said to the sons of Israel, "Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, I brought Israel up from Egypt, and I delivered you from the hand of the Egyptians, and from the power of all the kingdoms that were oppressing you. But you have today rejected your God, who delivers you from all your calamities and your distress, yet you have said, 'No, but set a king over us.' Now therefore present yourselves before the Lord by your tribes and your clans." Thus Samuel brought all the tribes of Israel near, and the tribe of Benjamin was taken by lot. Then he brought the tribe of Benjamin near by its families, and the Matrite family was taken, and Saul the son of Kish was taken. But when they looked for him, he could not be found. Therefore they inquired further yet of the Lord, "Has the man come here yet?" So the Lord said, "Behold, he is hiding himself by the baggage." So they ran and took him from there. And when he stood among the people, he was taller than any of the people from his shoulders upward. Samuel said to all the people, "Do you see him whom the Lord has chosen? Surely there is no one like him among all the people." So all the people shouted and said, "Long live the king!" Then Samuel told the people the ordinances of the kingdom, and wrote them in the book, and placed it before the Lord. And Samuel sent all the people away, each one to his house. Saul also went to his house at Gibeah. And the valiant men whose hearts God had touched with him, but certain worthless men said, "How can this one deliver us?" And they despised him, and they did not bring him any present, but he kept silent. So I think at this moment, what we're going to do regarding Saul is this moment of hiding by the baggage, shy / scared is probably what we should put in our notes for now. We'll come back and mess with it some more as we continue on with this study. Definitely seeming like a coward at this moment is kind of what we're looking at here. But we also, if you know the story of Saul, it could have been more of a shy thing. This is a big moment. Apparently the transformation didn't affect his shyness or his cowardice in this moment, but we're gonna see quite a bit of Saul doing some amazing things because he is anointed by God, which is another thing that I want us to add to our list of things under Saul's name: anointed by God. So that's a big deal. Like, he is one of God's chosen people at this moment. And it's kind of interesting because, the people wanted a king. The people were like, "Give us a king. We want a king." And so they chose that. So he is referred to basically as the king chosen by the people. So that would actually be a good thing to put in the notes. So next week we're going to pick back up in 11, and we're going to be seeing a few different things next week. I think we'll focus more on Saul next week, and then we'll go back through and we'll pick apart some Samuel stuff the week after. So it'll be kind of jumpy around for the next couple of weeks with how I want to start staging things up as we go forward. It's getting ready to get good with 11, 12, and 13 with Saul and Samuel. So I hope that we're setting things up very well. How often can we be like the people of Israel? They have been told so many different times, and yet it seems like they don't care. You are choosing to go against God by wanting a king. And what do? They continue to move forward. We're going to be left on cliffhangers a handful of times during this season, but I think it's going to be for the benefit. So we're going to hang it up right here. Keep that in your heart with the, continuing forward, even though they know what they're doing is wrong by wanting a king that is going against God's wishes. And think about how we can be the opposite of that. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me here on a wonderful Thursday, studying God's Word. And we will catch you right back here next time on Calloused Hands.